Hey guys, welcome to the first ever Ladder Up podcast. My name is Ron Creech, and we're here starting our first one ever. I'm with my friend Jim right here, and we're gonna dig deep into who we are.
Can't wait. Let's dig.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, thanks for tuning in. In our next podcast, we will probably be a little more explicit of what we're going to do and where we're going to go with this, and have all of our social media stuff up ready for you. But right now, it's just an introductory. I want to introduce my friend Jim to you.
So, Ron, we've known each other for a while, in the past couple of years, and met through podcasting, or something like a podcast through some mutual friends, and you've got from what I remember, you've got an interesting story to what God's done in your life, and we're going to kind of like break down like how you literally laddered up, right, or climbed the ladder, whatever you want to call it. So tell me about like briefly, like where are you from and how did you get to where you are?
Wow, that's a big scope right there, my friend. Well, I'm originally from Louisiana, from a little small town in the middle of nowhere. So when you get to nowhere, you take a left, and I'm about 10 miles down on the right. So that's where I'm from. But I've been in Nashville since 96, I guess it is. And I actually met you at a church. That was a picnic, but it was a cornhole tournament.
That's right. We were in a I was your pastor, Josh, randomly reached out to me and says, "Hey, we're hosting a cornhole tournament." And I think the rule was that you had to invite somebody that was outside of your church.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's exactly what it was.
That's right.
So I saw you sitting there, and so my pastor said, "Hey, you need to go introduce yourself to this man." I go, "Okay." So when I introduced myself to you, you told me that you did podcasting and music, and you was a promoter. And I go, "Man, I need to know you."
That's right.
Just out of the blue. I had never done a podcast before, and definitely don't know how to play the music or sing.
That's what I hear. So how did you get started? Let's talk about business. How did you get a introduction about how did you get into the business that you're in now? Like what led to that?
Well, I don't know if you remember, as a music man in the 90s, there was a song called Heads Carolina, Tails California.
Yeah.
That's kind of where I was at, flipping my life. I had just went through a dramatic time in my life, sold my restaurants, had some restaurants down in Louisiana, and I had an uncle that lived up here, so I needed to get away for a while, so I chose come to Nashville. And I've always been self-employed. I pick and always say that I've only had like 2 or 3 real jobs where somebody actually paid me. Other than that, I've always been self-employed, and came up here and started a business that it's called Cornwell Tools. I don't know if you ever heard of that. It's where professional mechanics buy tools off of a truck that you sell, and it didn't really work out that well for me. And then I went to work for Goodyear for a while, and let's see, what did I do next? Oh, then this is interesting. Then I became a auctioneer. That's what I wanted to do. Remember that story?
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So, and then I went to work, got
the Cajun collar.
The Cajun collar. That's it. So then I got a job with a guy named Clive Anderson, and he was a great auctioneer and a great guy. And he told me that, hey man, if you ain't got money enough to live 6 months, you're probably not gonna make it in this business. And to be honest with you, I didn't have enough money to live 6 days, much less 6 months. So anyway, my uncle was getting out of the business, and so I took it over, and it was a small family-owned business, and God's blessed me, and we can talk about from A to Z here, but I went from just me working 14 hours a day, 7 days a week, and now we probably got, 12 employees, something like that.
And then let's talk about family. You're married. You have how many children?
I have 3 girls.
3 girls.
Mm-hmm.
Good for you. That's I'm sure that was fun. And then right, all the gray hair, right?
Yeah.
and then how long have you been married?
I've been married to my wife now for 25 years this year.
25 years.
Yeah, we married in 2000. Yeah.
That's great.
So we have a child, and then I have 2 children with another marriage. Yeah.
Yep. Let's talk about some of the things that someone might hear on the Ladder Up podcast, right? What's a story What's a story or what's something that's changed your life?
Man, there's multiple stories that changed my life. I guess there's three tasks that I probably would go with on those podcasts, and one of them is faith with faith base, and then the other one would be action oriented, and then the other one would be personal growth and motivation. I've had all three of those dramatically change my life, and the interesting thing is about miracles or things happening to your life in my business. So I tell you this, I was broke as a joke in 1998. I was pretty much living out of my pickup truck. And so when I bought this business from my uncle, it was going down. I didn't know it was going out at the time, but it was. And so anyway, I was trying to, get some ladders and get some stuff for the business, and couldn't get any money. Didn't have any money to start with. So the banker right down here, his name is Keith Bowling. He's still my banker to this day. He's a great guy. But anyway, he told me, he goes, man, you need to get a credit card. Well, I was broke. So anyway, I applied for a credit card with the bank that I actually banked with, and got a little thing in the mail that said, we're sorry, Mr. Creech. Just no good. Can't even loan you $2,000. That's what I was looking for, $2,000.
Wow.
So, I kept praying and kept believing, as, you know me as I do, and kept trudging forward. And then 2 weeks later, if you remember back in the day, you got credit cards in the mail.
Yep.
That was full credit cards and just had a sticker on it that says, call this number to activate this credit card. I got one from Bank of America for $20,000.
Wow.
So it was just a typo. That's all it was. Because I could have sold everything I had and didn't have $2,000, much less 20. So it was just a blessing. So I called the lady up on the phone, and so I activated it, and she goes, "You're good to go, Mr. Creech." And I go, just to be sure, it's $20,000. Yes, sir. It's activated. It's ready to go. I go, "Thank you, ma'am."
Wow.
It's one of the first things that started in my life to change. I got tons of those things to go along with what it was.
Let's talk about trials and triumphs in life. Like what's the difference between a trial and a triumph? And then how do we learn from that?
Well, I don't know. A trial is something that a man deals with every day. For me, I mean, I've grown to know that life doesn't happen to me; it happens for me. So every day is a trial, and I try to make a triumph at the end of it. Like, do my successes, see where I'm at, grow from where I was. Take a small step every day. I think one of the most important things you can do is 1% a day. Every small micro step that you take leads you to your big goal. And until you know how to set goals and have purpose and visions, then most people just kind of wander around, and that's what I did until probably 2002 or 2003, somewhere along there. Just kind of wandered around, woke up every morning like a goose in a different world. Thought I knew what I was doing, but I had no idea. Had somebody to coach me, got in church, started learning what the word said, how it works, and hired a coach, and started doing a lot of different things with Bob Proctor and Earl Nightingale, John Rowan, Byron Golden, now people like that.
So you had to obviously that took an investment of time and energy and resources to make that pivot.
Absolutely.
Right.
I think one of the biggest tragedies in the world is people don't take the time, or they don't understand how important it is to invest in yourself. And I didn't know that for a long time. And the best investment you can ever make on this earth is in yourself.
So give me an example of a 1% increase that somebody can do, and how do you see that make a difference?
Well, the way it made a difference for me is, I do a little coaching as I teach. There's a A-type goal, there's a B-type goal, and a C-type goal. And an A-type goal is, you already done it before. So if you came to me and you go, "Hey, I need you to help me buy a new car." This is just an example. And I go, "Okay, what kind of car you got?" And you tell me it's a Chevy. And I say, "How old is it?" And you go, "Oh, it's 4 years old." And I go, "And you said you bought it new." So that's not really a purposeful goal. That's just doing the same thing. So like a B-type goal is whenever you have to change a few things in your life and rearrange a few things. Nothing major.
Yeah.
But then a C-type goal is something that you have no idea how it's going to happen. So once you start setting these C-type goals, then you have to rely on your faith. You have to rely on what you can do. So then you have this purpose of life in life. That's your purpose. And then you have this vision. And then to make the vision happen, you have these goals. So if you take the step every day towards your purpose, then sooner or later you'll get there. That's what I mean when I say 1% every day. And that's like if you're in sales, making that extra phone call. If if you're in music, taking that extra 30 minutes, to play their instrument better. I don't know what they call it, the 10,000 hour rule.
That's right.
If you do it 20 minutes a day, then you'll get there.
Well, I always tell people that, particularly if they're songwriters, I ask them, do you have songwriting? If you're not a professional songwriter, or you don't have a publishing deal with a company, do you have time in your calendar every week when you're songwriting?
Yeah.
Some people be like, well, I just wait for inspiration to come. I'm like, that business doesn't work like that. If you've got a publishing deal in Nashville, you've got to sit down and, go into a room, just like we'd be in a room here and be like, hey, Ron, we got to sit down and make a song.
Yes.
On demand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So that 1%, having that as a goal, making that instigating that change.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, the 1% to me is discipline.
You
got to have discipline. Like you just talking about with inspiration, that gets you motivated. Well, motivation just gets you started. But it doesn't sustain anything until you have discipline, until you wake up every day and you go, this is what I'm going to do no matter what.
Yeah.
Kind of burning the ships. That's what I did in this business. I mean, I didn't have no choice. I was, what they say, I wasn't smart enough to quit. Actually, I didn't know there was a way out. I just knew I had to make it. So that's why we kept doing what we was doing, what we're doing.
Excellent. So Ron, you're starting this Ladder Up podcast. Kind of break down for me, like what are folks going to hear on this show?
Well, man, I'm excited to tell you that. It's the steps in life that get you where you want to go. And ladder business, which we are, and it's one rung at a time. It's like I was talking about the 1%, so it's one rung at a time. So basically, what I have a desire to do is for the people that's out there that's 18 or 30 or 65 that struggle with a few things in life, it's just give them the opportunity and maybe a wherewithal of how to actually take a problem and solve it, actually how to make a decision and move forward. I see that most people struggle in life with self-image, and self-image is what holds 90% of the people back. And so those kind of things like that we want to talk about. I teach at my church, and I'm a big, strong believer in prayer and faith, and I think faith without actions is dead. And most people don't have the action to go behind the faith. They have the ability to ask and believe, but they don't have the ability to receive. And so maybe if I could just reach anywhere in this world to make, one person or two people or, 1,000 people change the way they see this world. And I say that because, I had a situation with some people that was going to the rehab. And so we were driving down the same road, looking out the same window. But her version of life was, there was people after me. Nobody cared. Nobody loved me. You see what I done. It's just blame. I'm sitting, 16 inches away from them, and I'm seeing the birds and the blue skies and the wind blowing and the nice people having picnics and all that kind of stuff. So I guess one of the reasons I really want to do this is to try to help people have a different vision about this beautiful world that we have and how God just made it for you. And we don't take advantage of what he gave us. I mean, it tells you right in the front of the Bible that he created everything on this earth for you. And I just, and I know why you don't do it. I know why we don't do it because, when I was 7, 8 years old, I had a person tell me one time we were out working and, I'm, I don't know, maybe 10 at the most. Been working all day. Guy goes, man, don't be lazy. And it stuck with me because it was a person of some magnitude to me. So then for probably 30 years, you could not outwork me.
Or for me, it was out on the, whether it was out on the logging job with my dad or some other job where there were older guys around, it's like standing around with your hands in your pockets.
Mm-hmm. That's the same difference.
I think about that now, even now.
Yeah.
One of the reasons that even in church, I won't put my hands in my pockets when we're worshiping.
No kidding.
Because that seems like that's the laziest thing you could do.
Yeah.
And, but yeah, hands in the pockets.
Yeah. I hear a lot of, especially with women, the young girls that was, I don't know, 10, 12, 14, whatever at that age, came out in a dress and they was all ready to go somewhere and somebody made fun of their dress. Stuck with them.
Yeah.
And if there's anything that I can do to change that, that's why I'm doing this podcast. Just to help people do that in business the same way. So become the person that God made you. So this is, everybody talks about their elevator pitch.
Yeah.
So this is my elevator pitch.
Let's go.
To relieve you from inefficiencies that keeps you from becoming the person you want to be.
To relieve you
from the inefficiencies that you have that keep you from becoming the person you want to be. Everybody wants to be something. Everybody's afraid of something. Why are we afraid?
Yeah.
I just got off of a call with some people in Alaska that we were doing the exact same thing. And people ask me, you made it in this world comparably and where you are. And I go, man, I'm afraid every day. But I get up and move forward no matter what.
I heard a story the other day about a guy who goes to his doctor and he said, doctor, I've got a problem. My brother thinks he's a chicken. Right. And the doctor says, well, have you seen a specialist about it? He goes, yeah, we did. But, the fact is, doc, we really need the eggs right now. Right. And it's a horrible dad joke, but there's some truth in that. Is that sometimes the things that are not even good for you, you're stuck because that's what you need.
Yeah.
There's a job that you're working that you're like, I got to keep doing it even though I hate it, and I want this thing. I want to do this thing really bad. But I don't know how to get there. There's almost like a mental block that happens.
So why do we settle? Why? That's the answer. That's the question. Why do you settle?
Yeah.
We settle because we say the exact same thing you just said. I don't have a choice. But in reality, I used to say the exact same thing over and over and over and over again. But the truth is we do have a choice. It just may take a little extra energy or, instead of watching TV at night, you could be reading a book. And you're talking about some of the things that changed in my life. I was, when I got married to my ex-wife, 92 or somewhere along there. And there was a book that Anthony Robbins, always been an Anthony Robbins fan throughout the 80s. And there was a book that he wrote called Awaken the Giant. Man, I had to have that book. But you know what? I had to borrow $10 because the book cost $29. I had to borrow $10 from somebody to buy that book. But the funny thing is, that's the first book in my life. So I was 23 years old, whatever it was. The first book in my life that I ever read from cover to cover.
Really?
It's the first book I ever read from cover to cover. But it took me to another level. It gave me a little bit of confidence to just dream.
Did that help your sales, or did it help your? What were you doing for work then?
Well, then I was in had a commercial mowing business. I mowed grass for Tennessee Gas Pipeline and LP&L, stuff like that down in Louisiana when I was still there. But basically what it helped me with was to see who I was and my confidence. Now, I didn't know that I didn't know back then. So I would start something and then I couldn't hold it together. And it would, then I'd start something else and, because I couldn't hold my life together back then. I just didn't know. And so, back to the point, just take a moment, take 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes a day to read something different, whatever you want to do. The second thing I learned is to stop asking people what I should do. Because I used to ask people all the time, man, what should I do? What should I do? Because I didn't know what to do. And they'd all give me different kind of stories and scenarios of what I should do. But what I found out is they were telling me to not do this because that's what they wouldn't do. So they didn't want, they didn't want me to succeed. They did, but subconsciously they didn't want me to succeed because that meant that I took the risk that they wasn't going to take. And so, you birds of a feather flock together. You don't really want to change and move on and be different. And,
Well, that's sometimes it's easy to take the passive road and ask people what to do rather than saying, I'm thinking about doing this.
Yeah.
Have you done this? I always rarely, even as a parent, I got 3 adult kids. I won't won't tell them what to do, but I'll make suggestions. I'll say, this is what I did or what I would do if I was in your shoes.
Right.
You've got to make your own decision.
So let me ask you this. If you needed a tooth pulled and your neighbor was a mechanic, would you go over and ask him, should you become a dentist, or what should you do? No.
No.
But as I was growing up, that's what I did. I asked everybody what to do. So what I found is figure out what you really want to do. Because most people don't do what they really want to do. They just do what's convenient or what the family done or what somebody told them to do or some way to, make money or a job right away. But what I found is that most of the people that I started associating with that had made something of this in their, in their business or whatever they're doing, I could ask them and they were more than happy to give me advice. So if I wanted to be a businessman, I went to a business person that had made it and asked them. If I wanted health, I would go ask somebody that was a health director, And when I figured out those things and just quit asking my neighbor and my buddy up the street and somebody else, then it really changed my life like that.
Yeah, sometimes it seems like a better, approach is figure out what you want, figure out almost like what you're saying, and figure out who is doing all this the best, and go talk to them.
That's right.
And figure out how would they do it, then take that and go back to your goal.
Right.
Right. And sort of re-engineer it.
Absolutely. So if somebody came to me and said, hey, what do you think about the music industry? I don't know. You think I should do it? Absolutely not, because I don't know anything about it. But if it came to you and said, hey, what do you think about the music industry? You can lay out 10 things that could take them to the next level in their life.
Well, I'd have a bunch of questions, obviously. You're like, what?
Why would you do that?
What does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Like, what? Where are we even going with that?
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think that if people could figure out what they really wanted in life, that's where we struggle a lot too, because we usually settle, and I just don't want people to settle.
Well, we're raised. You think about this. We've got a lot of things in our. We still have a lot of built-in thought process of I should go get a job and work somewhere, and then we're still, sort of 9 to 5 in our back of our heads, thinking we were raised that way. I need to have a college degree. I need to work a 9 to 5 job. There's like a checklist of things.
Yeah.
Well, it's like some of those standards have changed now. So you could have a dream or an idea and get there. But some of that is that it doesn't matter what the idea is. You've got to approach fear. Fear isn't going to go away.
Nah.
You just don't let it ride in the front seat with you.
Right. Well, fear comes from, creates doubt and worry, and then doubt and worry creates anxiety and depression and stuff like that. So, I understand the part, but knowledge, kind of takes care of fear, which I didn't know that at the time. I was just, when my dad said I was fighting a big story with a short stick.
What was that?
I can't remember exactly how he said it now. I got to think about it. So.
Yeah. Our father's euphemisms.
Yeah, that's right. And, so there's thoughts coming into our head all the time, and we have to learn how to decipher those things, and how to put them to the right negative or positive issues, or either just take them out of your thinking. Because as well as I do that we get where we are through what we think. Because what we expose ourselves to is what we think about. What we think creates our feelings creates our actions creates our habits, and our habits create our character, and then ultimately our character creates our destiny. So if we can go back to what we're exposing ourselves to, which goes back to what are we reading? Are we looking at the TV, or are we reading a book? Yeah.
There was a quote from a book that you shared with me, and it says, the game of life is a game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy.
That's correct, 100%. And I don't think we pay attention to what we say, especially to ourselves. I can tell you all afternoon how great of a podcaster you are, or how great of a person you are, a musician you are. But if you mess up, for 1 second, you will beat yourself up, and you will believe yourself over what I tell you. Every time.
Well, the power of memory, negative memory in your past, and if you've gone back and dwelt on that over and over again, and sometimes I'll be in the middle of something, I'm driving somewhere and have a memory of something that's so strong, and I literally have to say, wait, I'm the boss now.
Yeah.
Wait, that's not true. That doesn't even apply.
Right.
And it's almost like it's almost like a battle. You know, I read a book recently or in the past year called Winning the War of Your Mind by Pastor Craig Rochelle.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And it's almost like you've got to go back and sort of like rewire some of that negative thinking.
Absolutely.
How do you approach negative thinking?
Well, I right now what I do is I come up with the slogan for myself, and probably somebody told me this, is that the past has already been, it's done. It's over with. You've already paid for it. You paid dearly for what happened in the past. So don't pay for it again. So then I just say, hey, I've already been forgiven for that. I've already moved past that. So let's create something different. And then I try to rewrite the story in my mind, what I would do if I would have done it different. And that, sometimes it usually helps for me. So, I mean, after a while, you start believing what you're telling yourself. And if you change what you're telling yourself, then you'll start stepping out in faith. You'll start believing that you can do it. You'll start believing your words and your actions. And once you start that, then other people see it and other people start believing it. So to do what you got to do.